that'll be on pages 10 and 11. And it's lesson 3, and it's, I just said graphing lines. I think on, or graph lines, I think on Google Classroom I put graphing linear equations or something like that I think is the way I put it. We're probably going to graph 5, but I'm going to do them without a graph paper. We can do them a little bit quicker that way. So we're interested in graphing lines by slope y intercept form. Which is y equals mx plus b. Now, you will see in Algebra 2 that we do a lot of, instead of y, now your calculator has a y equals key, but a lot of times we will call that something else. So we'll address that as we move a little bit further in Algebra 2. And do you remember what these things are? Do you remember what the m is, and do you remember what the b is? Well, we just talked about m, haven't we, in lesson 2? That was the slope. And if you're going to graph with it, you need it as a fraction, which is rise over run. And then what's the b? Y-intercept. And intercept, which is where it crosses the y-axis. Which one's the y-axis? Going up and down, going up and down. It's either the horizontal or the vertical one, and it's the one going up and down. Y equals 2/3 x plus 6. Now, for our notes, let's state the, I don't think your classwork asks for it. Let's state the slope and let's state the y-intercept. Now, you can call it y-intercept or you can call it b equals, but don't just put y, because when you put that, you're saying something else. We'll talk about down here at the bottom of page 11 in a few minutes. So, the slope is what's in front of the, oh, I know what I was going to say a while ago. The slope is the one in front of your x. You need a rise and a run. So if there's just a 5 there, you've got to make it a fraction. So we're going to have the 2 over the 3. The 2 is your rise, positive 2 and positive 3. So we got our rise and run.
You don't have to put the x, right?
No, actually the x is, this x and this y actually stand for like an ordered pair that's on the line. So the slope is what's a good question. It's what's in front of the x, if you want to make a note of that. That's a very good question. And then the y-intercept is that positive 6. And I'm putting signs just for emphasis. Okay, let's do it on one of these. Your classwork is a lot easier because it's bigger grid. These are, but these fit on our notebook real well, and they've already got the x and y axis drawn, which is nice. Sometimes we do it with colored pencil. It's a little messy, so I'm just going to do it with regular. They're not labeled. I'm going to let this one be my x-axis and this one my y. I'm going to label it just so I have it. So y-axis is going up and down. We need to, and I like it too because I think there's like 8 going up, 8 down. We can do some that have not just little bitty numbers. So if 6 is my y-intercept, this is my y-axis. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I know what I was going to say too. Last year we wrote it takes 2 points to graph a line. So you got to get a point to start with, and your first point will be your y-intercept. Now to get the second one, you're going to have to do a constant rise and run. It will give you a second point, a third point, a fourth point, how many you want to do. So I can go from there, remember you start there, we can rise 2, 1, 2, and we can run a positive 3, 1, 2, 3. Does this come back to you? Okay. And then I've got a ruler. Now, if you don't have rulers, I do have some extras of these. I can get them. I know the 6-inch, but the 12-inch will fit in your folder over there. So if you want to get you a 12-inch, some people use just an index card or driver's license or anything that's a straight edge like that. Now, does this match what we said about slope? It had a, we didn't even say it here, but it has a positive slope. Slope dude says that if it's going up, it has positive slope. See, puff, puff, positive. There it is. Let's glue that one in. 2 over here, and we'll glue it over here. We got plenty of room, and so we should be fine. But I'm going to write it over here, and we're going to do y is equal to 3x, and that's all we need. And you can go ahead and get one of your slips, and I'm going to label it x and y. Okay, these are probably the same problems we did last year for our notes. I mean, they're good they're good lines. They work real well. Okay, what's the slope? And what's the intercept? 3 over 1. It's positive 3 over positive 1. I'm going to write it that way, in my notes especially. So we know it's also going to be going up to the right. And what's the y-intercept? Now remember, it's what you're adding out here. So you've got to think. People question, is it 0, is it 1? Now, if there's nothing there, and it's addition, like if I have 8 plus blank equals 8, think about what number is there. But if it's 8 times blank equals 8, what's in the blank?
1.
Yeah, so when it's multiplication, it's a 1, right? But this is addition. So if it's 8 plus blank equals 8, what is that blank?
0.
It's a 0. So I put a blank there, or I'm not even going to write it there. I'm going to do it like this. The y-intercept is 0. I'm going to do it like that to show that when there's nothing there, it is 0. Okay, I think we're ready to graph it, aren't we? Where is 0? Right in the very center. The origin is what it's called. And then we're going to rise a positive 3. Now, people that stop there are the ones that forget you got to do rise and run. So if you rise 3 and run 1, because we'll talk about those special ones in just a minute, because I think I gave you only have 10 in your classwork, and I think I gave you one of each of those on your classwork. So my intentions with y'all is Tuesday to go to the graphing calculator. What we're going to do is, let me find it, y equals negative 5/3. And the negative is usually just right out front, even kind of with the fraction bar. Mine's kind of on top, but usually when it's type x minus 1. Now, let me say this to you. When Slope Dude is doing slope, if your line is positive slope or negative slope, one of these, it's gonna have an x and y in it, like number 1 and like number 2 and like number 3. It's always going to have an x and y. So what is the slope? Now, we need to address that negative 5/3. Now, I think we agree that in terms of Slope Dude, he's going to be going downhill, right? Because he says nice negative. So if we say negative 5/3, now, would y'all agree that negative 5 over 3 could be negative 5 over positive 3? Is that a true statement? Or it could be positive 5 over negative 3. Do all of those give you a negative? Yes? Is that true? Is a negative over a positive a negative? Is a positive over negative negative? I always put my negative with the top. They both are not negative, because if you put a negative with negative 5 or negative 3, that makes both of them positive, makes it positive, and it would have positive slope, and we know it has negative. I always put my negative with the top, and I put a positive on the bottom. That's the thing you want to remember. And we did these in Algebra 1. We did them last year. It should be a little bit easier. It's just been since, we probably did this sometime late February or early March. So I'm going to take this one. Oh, we didn't say the y-intercept. I call it y-intercept. I don't say b. Your calculator will actually call, well, depending on how you do it, we won't be using that feature, but it calls the slope a. It actually puts an a there. I'm trying to think if we ever use that part. Not at this level, I don't think we do. And then b is the y-intercept. So x and y, and my y-intercept is negative 1. Y'all agree? Okay, so negative 1's here. Now, major mistake is putting the y-intercept as the x-axis. Remember, x-axis. Excuse me, y-axis. This is x-axis, y-intercept. Okay, now I'm going to do it with this one, but I'm also going to do it with that one to show you that it doesn't matter. If I go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, rise a negative 5, and run a positive 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's my line. Coming downhill, nice negative. What if I had done positive 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over negative 3? Is it the same line? Yes. So it doesn't matter which one you do. Is this the bell that rings at 1:05? Y'all, you know I never remember. We're going to say, what if you have an equation that has only a y. Let's write it like that. Only a y. Like this. Let's say our equation is y equals 3. There is absolutely no x in it. Now this one's a little bit easier to picture because you could rewrite this. Would y'all agree that y equals 3 is the same thing as y equals 0x plus 3? Yeah, because that means no x's. So that makes it a little bit easier because look, the slope is 0 and the y-intercept is 3. So that's pretty easy. Will you have enough room to, yeah, because we're not gluing it, we can just draw one. If you want to use a straight edge, I'm just going to eyeball it. I guess I can use one since I've got one. I just thought these were easier to do. I mean, with as few people as I have, I could have given you 2 more things, and you have one of each of these in your classwork. Okay, now think about slope dude. If the slope is 0, which one was it? Which way is he going? Is he going to fall off the mountain? He's going flat across, isn't he? 0 fun. So it's going to be a horizontal line. So your y-intercept is 3. I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3. And it's just going to be horizontal to that. Now, if you've got a color pencil, if you have a highlighter or something, you might want to make a note. Here, this will help too. If you put X here and Y here, that'll show you this is the axis and that's the 1, 2, 3. So if it only has a Y, it's going to always be a horizontal line. And I guarantee you, if I went to Ms. Newberry's calculus class and asked them, they would have to go, I'd say, okay, which one? Y equals 3. Which way does it go? And they go, it's one of these. You know, it's just something that mathematically it's hard to remember. And then the last one, I'll do it over here, is what if you have only an X? Only an X. Now this is the one that is totally, it's your graphing calculator, if you remember, it has, I don't know what I did with mine. It has a y equals key. See, everything we've done so far has a y in it. And so you have this y equals, look how clear that is. The y equals right there. And so your calculator easily graphs y equals. So this little x equal thing, like x equals, let's do x equals -2. You can force it, but it's hard, and we just don't do them much. Occasionally we do for something, but it's not easy, push the button and graph it. It's just not that friendly. So we're going to do x equals -2. It has no y. Well, there's a lot of things going on with this. You can't rewrite it like that. You can't rewrite y equals mx plus b because it didn't have a y. So what this one is what did he do? He fell off the mountain. Do you remember what his slope was? What did he say when he fell off the mountain? Undefined. Only rise, no run. And then if he's running up and down, is he going to cross the y-axis? Okay, here's the y-axis, and here's a vertical line. Is he going to cross the y-axis? Only if he is the y-axis, right? But even then, he's every point on it. So he has no y-intercept. None. Doesn't happen. Not going to be there. I'm going to do it over here. So the main thing, and I have taught tricks and people still have trouble remembering them. You know, I try to tell people like the top of an X looks like a V for vertical line. The Y looks like an upside down H for horizontal. I mean, there's just things you can say. People still forget them. So x-axis, y-axis. It will not cross the y-axis, so we go to x equals -2 right here. It can't have, see, x equals -2. And what are we going to do? We're just going to draw a line up and down vertically through it.